Hello and welcome to our ninth installment of Cincy Rims Roll Call. I'm Adam Visnick, once again your host, and today we're once again diving deep into the world of risk and insurance management. Today, let's unravel the journey, the challenges, and the victories that our next guest has encountered. Please join me in welcoming Leah Brantley. Leah, thanks for jumping on.
Thanks for having me.
It's such a pleasure to finally see you after having met you at the holiday party for Cincy Rims, which I had a great time. Did you have a good time there?
I had a good time. I really did. It was nicely put together. I enjoyed myself.
Well, I'm glad you did. And I want to dive right into this interview portion and talk a little bit about how you got started in your career and take me
Mhm.
back to when that was and what was the thing that happened then.
Well, how I got started, interestingly enough, I had just purchased a home, and a friend of mine, Aditra Walker, with State Farm, was my insurance agent. And with that, we went over my policy and our conversation, one thing led to another, and talked about career choices. And she referred me. I told her I was interested. She thought I would be a good candidate to be an insurance agent and own my own agency. Went through the referral process, and then voila, became trained and opened up my own agency.
And that's amazing. And I feel like
Yeah.
there's going to be a long journey from where that started into where you are today. That's so you knew someone, they kind of introduced you to the field and you got into there
Introduced
based on
me.
their recommendation.
Yep. And like from there, just I dove in head first, loved it. So spent quite a few years, I want to say about 8 or 9 years as a personal insurance agent covering auto, home, life insurance, some banking products, retirement, and became very successful in that field. So that's where it all started.
Amazing. And then tell me about how you then made that next move because you were at State Farm for what I
Mhm.
saw for quite a few years and then
Or
probably gave
yeah,
you some decent knowledge about the industry, but then you took a turn. What happened?
absolutely. They laid a really great foundation. And I would say one of the foundations that I had that interest me with State Farm and kept me so long is their serving of the community. I'm a big advocate for community service. So that's always been something I'm drawn to. But from there, I think probably 2020,
Mhm.
COVID happened and everyone, I believe, started doing self reflection. What is it that they want next?
Mhm.
And with that, I know I wanted to do a deeper dive more so than just personal insurance, but finding a niche. And so started moving from that and wanting to really concentrate in commercial insurance. And with that, like I said, State Farm is number one um, for personal insurance in certain sectors, but wanting to really, really niche out and concentrate on commercial insurance exclusively. So started my journey from there.
Okay, that's a big, for me, this is a unique, and I think for the audience, it's
It
unique.
is
It's a
unique.
unique start. And we've said this many times that every person that we've interviewed so far has had a different start, had a different start point and ending point. And for
Mhm.
the viewers out there, this is probably the first person, Leah, that we've talked to that started out in personal lines of insurance. But then what
Oh,
happened?
okay.
You went to the commercial side. Tell me what challenges you might have had going from the personal side to the commercial side.
Realizing how different it was, because like I said, I had some experience with small insurance, a lot of, I would say, small businesses, mom and pop shops, barber shops, nail salons, basic insurance like that, some apartment buildings. But when I wanted to transition into what I would say middle market insurance and just straight commercial lines, realizing that it was just different whole lines of businesses that you had to learn. And I think the best way that I segued into that I took a position with a local company as a commercial underwriter. And the best training ever. It took probably about 6 months to go through the training, and it broke down every line of business. And with that wealth of knowledge, I stayed there for a while. And I again, that call to sales, that because I would find myself in underwriting, in addition to just looking at the risk, I would talk to the salesperson like, "Hey, did you mention this coverage? And if you did this, and if you did that, we could cover them this way." And I'm like, I'm no longer underwriting. I'm pretty much, selling the product again. So realizing I wanted to get back into the sales of it. So transitioning back from commercial underwriting, and then going into back into commercial sales, but this time strictly for larger businesses, and then working my way up to middle market sales.
I see. And
Hmm.
it sounds like you gained the knowledge from the training that you received, but then you scratched an itch that you wanted to go back into the sales side because you were helping solve
Hmm.
problems. It sounds like with your sales team, and you wanted to get back into that. Tell me about then, kind of what was the next step? You got back into the commercial sales side. Did you have a career transition at that point? If so, what was that like? What did that look like?
I would say what I learned between the underwriting side and the sales side, that the one I would say the one idea that continued carried through is I really enjoy disseminating the information. I love showing different solutions, different problems. So sometimes the solutions don't always end in a closed sale. Sometimes they're actually perfect with what they have. So just reassuring customers, reassuring clients that they have the best product available. So, like I said, once I got into the solving solution area, I was like, I don't know if that's necessarily sales that I need. And I would say the position that prompted me is I really wanted to have a focus on a smaller clientele, smaller, but making sure I reinsure that they have all the correct coverages. So I would say the current position I'm in now as a coordinator in the banking industry allows me, I think they found me and I found them. It was a perfect fit because I get to take all the knowledge, all the information, and really pour it into um, one client, and they have a wealth of areas to look at for risk management. So it keeps me busy. So I get to do, like you said, what I love, focus on community,
Mhm.
and really spend my time making sure that this institution is covered correctly.
Yeah, wonderful. A good story there. And break that down a little bit about your current position, your risk management coordinator at First
Mhm,
Financial. Can you
mhm.
tell me a little bit about what, in layman's terms, what you might do on a daily basis and kind of what your overall strategy there for that company is, for that bank?
So what I would do, I would say in layman term, is being able to just look at the entity, and making sure we have the best coverage possible for the risk that we take on. So with the bank, you would deal with the operation centers, making sure that's taken care of. You would deal with the retail properties, making sure that's taken care of, the professional liability for all that work here, the board members, the commercial liability for the customers that come in, and then also dealing with the workers' compensation, making sure that our workers are safe, So you put that in as a daily basis. You can deal with just incident claims that can come up from your customers or from the workers if there's any, a general liability or things like that. And then just constantly meeting, looking over our policies, making sure that we have the best in everything that we need. Um, and putting that with talking with different insurance carriers to make sure we have the best products. So I would say not every day is the same, but that's what I like about it. And then I would say when you round all that, it still comes back down to the circle that with First Financial, it's a community bank. So their focus is always on the community. So again, as a recurring theme, I'm very community oriented, very community service. So I get to volunteer, seek out different opportunities. So it's, like I said, it's a perfect marriage for my skills and talents and with the bank.
Great stuff. And I want to talk a little bit about the community side in a minute. But and if by the way, it sounds like there's not only a lot of stuff on your plate, but there's a big umbrella that you have to cover. So
Mhm.
you're probably pulled in a lot of different directions, but also with the idea, hey, I got to make sure that I'm protecting the company in a lot of different spheres. And you mentioned all those, so thanks for sharing that. What we've come across when we've interviewed people is that obviously nobody goes it alone. There's people
Absolutely.
step on the shoulder of giants. They use other people as mentors and more, not just associations like Cincy Rims. But tell me a little bit about the people you have relied on or leaned on, maybe as mentors, as brain trusts. You mentioned Deidre Walker in your earlier mention of State Farm. Tell me a little bit more about the people that have worked with you.
Well, I would say right now, the team that I have at First Financial, I do not do it alone. I could not, absolutely not do it alone. So I would say the risk team here are extremely knowledgeable and we all want to get it right. So I would say from, the chief risk officer who is Skip Sorg, my direct my director, Pete Wynn, they all make sure I have all the necessary tools to get it right. I would say in the past, you're 100% right. You definitely can't go at it alone. Have mentors, plenty from State Farm in leader capacities and as colleagues that have always lent an ear to listen to what I say. And they're still being successful at State Farm as well. So one in particular, I would say, is still with State Farm. Stephanie Jordan has been a great mentor to me, leaning on that. And just even to circle back a little, it's always great as a minority woman to see yourself and to see others that you can lean on. So those that I mentioned, being able to see them be successful, like a Deidre Walker, like a Stephanie Jordan, to see them be successful, let me know that I could do it as well. And I just think that's so important.
No, that's great. Thanks for mentioning those people that you've worked with and hopefully raising them up as well alongside you. So it's great to hear, and love to hear those stories. And maybe those are people that we might want to interview in the near future as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But shifting gears back to the community side, you've mentioned it a couple times. I'd love to hit on that.
Mhm.
Tell me a little bit more about how you get involved in your community, how you volunteer, and kind of what your favorite initiatives are to do away from work.
Uh, I mean, it's a lot. One of the things I would say recently or and over the years, I would even start back in college days, just looking at my focus and the communities and the organizations that I would join. And one constant force in my life has been a sorority, Delta Sigma Theta sorority, which I'm a proud member of. Our focus is community service. So that can go into, just social, political, social awareness, focusing on education, um, health and health and awareness. So if I would have to pick, one entity we would touch, or the one that I enjoy the most, would probably be anything with scholarships and education. And that's always been my focus. So like I said, I can't just pinpoint like one thing I like to do, but anything in that arena, you'll find me getting my hands involved with.
That's awesome. I love to hear these things. Always wanting to give back. You want to give back. You want to work
Mhm.
hard at the positions you're currently in, but then you also want to give back to those that need a mentor, need some volunteer
Absolutely.
help, some community involvement. That's great. Um, Tell me a little bit more about the challenges you currently face in your role as risk management coordinator at First Financial. What are you currently facing that's challenging to you? Maybe you want to talk about that.
Say the most challenging is making sure we get it right. I would say, especially like in today's world, we love convenience. And one of the things that we love convenience is online banking. So I would say it's challenging to make sure that it's kept convenient, but making sure that it's kept safe. So making sure we have the products to prevent fraud. Cybersecurity is, I would say, one of the biggest concerns that you want to make sure you get right, have all the information. So making sure uh, I keep and get all the learning, the networking from different insurance networking, to get all that information. So when it's time to pick products and time to make sure that we have everything in place, that we get it right with that. But I would say those are the two biggest things, or obstacles, are one of the biggest things concerning that we want to make sure that we have right.
Amazing. Great stuff. All right. We've learned a lot from you. We've heard your story. I think our audience will love it. I've loved it. We're going to lay up some softball questions for you at
Okay,
Cincy Rims Rapid Fire. Ask you a quick rapid fire questions. You ready for that?
I'm ready. What you got? What you got?
All right. Now, first, I got to ask, are you a Cincinnati native, born and raised?
Born and raised
Born and
on the
raised.
east side, but I spent a lot of time on the west side. So
Okay. So you're going back and forth. You know
go,
bits and
yeah,
pieces
I
about
am.
the
I
both of them.
am.
Same here. I was a West Sider, then an East Sider. So I went back and forth there too. All right. I'll go with Gold Star or Skyline.
Okay, so I'm not waffling from this question, but what I'm going to say is Gold Star sauce is sweeter, and I like that. But Skyline cheese has I like the taste of that. So, you know, again, both of them. But um I have more access to Skyline, so I'll tend to go with that. But if I could make the perfect coney, it would be Gold Star's chili, the actual chili, and Skyline's
With the
cheese.
Skyline cheese. Interesting. That's a new answer. We've never heard that one.
See?
Mixing a little bit of both. I like it. Okay. What high school did you go to?
Eagles, baby, Walnut Hills High School.
Walnut Hills. Love it. Great school. And lastly, the Reds, Bengals, or FC Cincinnati?
Okay, so not waffling again. However, I absolutely love attending Cincinnati Reds games, love the stadium. Bengals, absolutely love tailgating, especially at Longworth Hall. So I love that. And FCC, I absolutely love going there. I love the stadium there too. And they have a great beer selection at FCC. So you get a lot of local choices, a lot of local craft choices. So I like that as well.
Now we know what incentives to get you to go to a different game. You got to have good beer selection. That gets you in the door.
That gets you in the door.
All right. I love that. Thanks so much. It's been a pleasure, Leah, to have you
It's been
on
a pleasure.
Cynthia
Thanks
Rams
for
Roll Call.
having me. Thanks for going. It was a great interview. Thank you for having me.
I'm Adam Visnick. Thanks for allowing me to be your host. We'll catch you next time.